Hey, everybody. Welcome to Black Coffee, Honey, and Grits. We are the ladies that make up Black Coffee, Honey, and Grits. So I'm going to introduce myself, then I'll pass it on to Maisha, and then Dr. Jemecia. I am Carmel. I'm Coach Carmel. I am your whole food, plant-based, vegan, and fitness coach. I encourage everybody to add more plants to their plates. It's Friday. I'm not going to keep you with a long, drawn-out explanation. So over to you, Maisha. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maisha, and I show women how to increase their power and their confidence through pleasure. Dr. Jemecia.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Jemecia, the nurse practitioner extraordinaire. I'm also your intermittent fasting and mindset coach, YouTube influencer, speaker, author, all the things. And I'm one third of Black Coffee, Honey, and Grits. Good morning.
Good morning. Who are Black Coffee, Honey, and Grits? Ladies, we are the Black Coffee. And sometimes we have some grit, but we always have Sass Class and all that ass. I know that I left a few words out, but y'all forgive me. You get the idea. We're here to talk today we're talking about change. We're talking about change, why it's hard, and what we can do to make it less painful, to make it more of a smooth transition. And it's interesting because you've heard the phrase or cliche that the only constant is change, like change is the only constant, and yet we still kind of face it with apprehension. We still kind of like, oh, change. And because a lot of times change has a lot more to do than with just us as the individual. If something big is changing in our lives, it'll more than likely affect other people around us. It'll affect our our habits. It'll change even the way we show up, where we show up, how often we show up, things that we do, things that we like to do. And sometimes that's the more difficult part. Sometimes we are like, we're fearful of the outcome, or maybe what other people might say. Like our friends and family, people that we love, might not be accepting or might not be supportive. And so those are the things that are to be considered when change is happening. But oftentimes we have to look at the end, the goal. What is the purpose? What's happening? Why it's happening? And there's two things that promote change. Number one, our backs are against the wall and we have no other option but to make this change happen. And other times it's kind of like, oh, I've got this bright idea. Let me quit my job. Let me just quit everything and just whatever the case is. And that can be scary too, even if it's an idea that came out of our own desires. So I'm thinking about a change that I've been talking about. If any of you have been following Black Coffee, Honey, and Grits from the beginning, you know that I've been talking about closing my brick and mortar office and going virtual with my business, and also really establishing myself as a health and fitness coach, health and fitness expert. And it hasn't yet happened, even though back when I said it, I meant like I wanted to do it tomorrow. But there are a lot of things in place, a lot of different, a lot of moving parts, a lot of things to consider. So and it hasn't happened yet, but it's something that is in the process of happening. It just takes a lot longer. And yes, it's scary because I don't know for sure what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen with my current clients or my current business partner. I don't know what's going to happen with my new business. I don't know what's going to happen. Do I move into my living room and work from there? Like I don't know. A lot of the things aren't in place, and it's for me to explore and really like figure things out. So ladies, I want to hear from you. What maybe recent changes or changes in the past that was super scary to approach, or maybe you approached it with grace being the word for, ooh, I hear some banging.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So since Maisha, we're going to give you a minute. Dr. Jemecia, what changes have you gone through that you had to kind of like push through gracefully, flow through? Anything?
Oh my gosh, so many, so many. I'll start with when I was in LA and I had my own insurance brokerage and I was doing quite well. and taking care of myself, doing all the things I wanted to do. The only problem at that time was I was spending all my time making sure it was going the way it was supposed to go, as you would with a brick and mortar business. Yeah. And back then there was no online anything, Carmel, nothing back then, right? But I needed to make a change because there was this thing that came where people were hitting, they would stop, they would fill the car up, they would stop, they would hit somebody from the behind, they would stage it, and then everybody would claim injury. So that pretty much tanked my business, that type of thing that happened in California. So I decided, hey, I need to do something else. So I needed to make a change. And never in a million years in my mind, never did I think that I would join the military. And I did. I joined the military. And then the other change happened. First of all, the military was great. I loved it. I didn't have to think about anything. I didn't have to take care of myself at all. They took care of me. Right. So I was okay with that because I was tired. But anyway, in the process of that, I had to make another change. I had to get out of the military because I wanted to stay with my spouse at the time, which anyway, so I had to get out of the military. I got out. I had to make another change. When I got out, I was a dental hygienist, and I couldn't work as a dental hygienist because the military allows you to do things that the civilian world does not. So
I have a question though. I want to back up because you had this business, and because people were not being honest, you had to change. And you said you never in a million years considered yourself that you never in a million years thought that you would be in the military. So how was that change for you, being forced to close where you were going in one direction, and then having to consider something you never considered before? How was that for you? Like, was it scary? Did you just jump in?
It was very humbling and very interesting because I closed down the business. I walked away from my apartment full of furniture, had no concept of storage or doing anything. I just left. I moved in with my aunt. I worked at Burger King until the military decided that it was time for me to come into the military. So I only worked at Burger King because I was like, I got to do something. So I was working at Burger King, and I was also doing body wraps at the same time, just waiting for the military to let me in. So it was very humbling because I went from the optics of here to here. But I knew I was like, I got to do something. And I did. And so until they let me in, I had to make a little bit of money. And I was in the same room with my cousin on a twin bed for about a year. And I made it happen. I had to make it happen.
Right. And because you saw the goal, you saw the end result. You said, this is what I need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what I did. And so, like I said, I went in the military. Did I answer the question?
You did because you mentioned the change, and then you made the change, and then you were about to talk about another change. But I was really like, whoa, to wrap your head around the fact that you have to stop one thing, and it wasn't your decision. It's not like you said, you know what, let me just try the military. No, you were forced out of one business into something else. So I was just curious as to how you handle that.
Well, I'm curious.
Yeah.
No, I was curious because all of these are choices that you made. It's you chose to go into the military. What made you say that was that? What made you think that was the choice to make for your future?
To me, that was the only thing I could do at the time. They would feed me. They would clothe me. I had nothing. I walked away from everything. I left everything. I had no one taught me about store. I mean, at that time, I had been on my own for a long time. So I didn't have certain concepts of things, right? Okay, maybe I might need this furniture in the future, or I might need these clothes or whatever. I just walked away. So I said, well, who's going to feed me? Who's going to clothe me? How am I going to get money? I said, well, the military will feed me 3 square meals. They'll give me a uniform. I don't need clothes. And I'll get money and a new skill. How great is that?
Ooh, that perspective. And the fact that you said, listen, where am I going to get these resources? You used your resources to kind of think, this is what I need. Who's going to give it to me? Who's going to give it to me? I love it. I
But
actually love it.
But when I went, like I said, I went from here making thousands of dollars a week. I was so young, y'all. I was making good money. I was doing all kind of stuff. I mean, I was just doing it. And then to go here, it was like I said, it was humbling, but I knew I will save every single penny. I'll do my own hair. I won't go out. And that's what I did. I went in the military. They gave me pennies.
But they fed you, they clothed you, and they gave you some place to sleep, and you learned a new skill.
And I was safe.
And you were safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Maisha, what changes did you go through that were
divorce? Yeah. Divorce. I mean, I could name so many changes that I've gone through, but divorce was probably still to this day one of the most jarring experiences, and not just the divorce, but everything that surrounded it. Packing up children, moving them, doing it as abruptly as I did it, bringing them to a whole new environment that they did not know, that I no longer knew. I mean, living in New York City, you know, as a child is one thing. Coming back and trying to navigate it and navigate the school systems and all of that is something totally different. So that was a decision that I made. That was a change that I made. That took me years. It took me years. It took me a decade or more to finally come to that decision. And even after I made it, I still wasn't certain that it was the right decision. And I still debated going back and forth. So my divorce wasn't even finalized until 3 years after I left. So on paper, I was married for like 17 years. But the divorce was the most jarring change I think out of all of the changes I've made in my life. That one is the one that has had the most effect on me, my children, everyone around me.
And I'm sure that the things that happened during that time were immediate, right? You didn't have time to sit on and ponder so much, especially with so many people counting on your next decision.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was I knew nothing. I knew nothing coming back to New York. I had to rely on other people to tell me, you know, things and places. I mean, and looking back, being here, there's so many different decisions that I would have made, but I didn't know the schools. I didn't know how to navigate this, that, or the other. I was not present. I was completely dissociated from my own life. But there's so many things looking back I would have done differently. Even how my leaving was, I would have tried something different with the leaving. I don't know if it would have worked, but that was the change. That was not easy at all. And that I still struggle with pieces of that, in terms of guilt and regret with that one.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Change, again, it's the only constant. It's the only thing that we can count on that's going to happen. And again, sometimes our backs are against the wall, and sometimes we just make the decision that that's going to be it. And some of us have the luxury of sitting on it and just kind of like, yeah, it's going to happen one day, just like I said with what I'm doing here. So a few ways to make it easier change based on so Maisha, even based on what you went through and the things that you would have done different if you had known more, how, to other people, folks watching, how can we make change, no matter how jarring it is, a little bit less painful?
Definitely have community. Whatever change is being made, most likely, especially if it's one that one doesn't, you know, a lot of times when we're making a change, it's we're going outside of our normal comfort zone. So it's helpful to have people around us who support us, even if it's going into the military, right? There may be people around you who are like, absolutely not. It's helpful to have people who are going to support whatever those decisions are that we're going to make, because there may be moments when we're like, I don't know if I even if this change is good for me, It's this too hard. I don't want to do it. And so I'd say the number one thing, really having people around you who can continue to support you, even in the moments when you don't want to make the change is huge.
I agree. And even with those people, keeping an open discussion, dialogue about it, right? And I also feel like mindset shifts, beliefs have to happen around it, about ourselves as well as our community and the people that are involved in this whole change. Because again, these changes often, like especially in your case, Maisha, they affect other people. Even in your case, Dr. Jemecia, where you had to go live with your aunt and you shared a bed with your cousin. So, and I also think like alignment, no matter how resistant we are, and this is the part that really takes prayer, meditation, and belief, and knowing that something better is going to come out of this. This is where we kind of make that decision, whether we were forced to make it or not, and energetically align with it. Just kind of like just understand and know I'm gonna be okay. And we're gonna end up in a good place. And again, even looking at it, just like what you were saying, Dr. Jemecia, looking at it as like a process of growth. Like I'm getting a skill out of this, right? I'm going to be getting something out of this that will be beneficial to me in the future. So, what would you say, Dr. Jemecia?
Yeah. First of all, I want to paint the picture a little bit clearer for those who are listening to me say I went into the military. I stopped the business and I went into the military. I wasn't young. I was 25.
That's young.
Not for the military.
It's older, right? For the military, they're looking at 18, 19.
Good point.
Yeah. And so prepare for setbacks. Because I thought I could just go in the military. I thought I can go from here to here and that was it. No, I had to wait. And that's why I had to get Burger King and the body wrap place. I had to. So if I would have saved some of that money, I was making money and spending money, spending money. I was living life. So I didn't think, I had no concept of this may stop. I had no emergency fund. I had nothing. I was just like maybe in Maisha's case, in the case of a divorce, if you're not prepared for a setback, because I might get married tomorrow and he might decide the next day, I'm going off to the next thing and I've combined all my money. I've done all these things and then I'm out there. So I just say prepare for whatever setbacks, and setbacks could be a setup for a comeback. So yeah. So
I'm curious what the body wraps. I'm so curious about the body wraps.
My God,
I remember those.
Man, I made so much money. I made so much money doing little stuff like that. Well, I would walk around with my body like, in this little cute little leotard. I'd walk around and I would sell body wraps to other people and I'd sell packages and I would make commission.
So the body wraps were
to lose inches, to
weight loss.
Weight loss.
Yeah. There's a company that still that I used to work with that still sells.
And they will only hire you if you look a certain way.
Yeah.
So you have to look like you were what they wanted to look like. So yeah.
I love it. Now, did the body wraps actually does that actually work?
Yeah, it worked. It worked. Okay. Now you had to do it again. It would work for so many weeks, like maybe 12 weeks, maybe. So people would get on a little membership plan. So if they got a membership plan, I get all that. I would get, continuous a little bit of kickback.
That's right.
Until the company got shut down. So, but right when it was about to get, right when it got shut down and I didn't receive my last 2 checks, the military kicked in.
Oh, good.
Look at that. There's still, like I said, there's still a company out there that sells things.
A lot of spas. Still a lot of spas. I'm seeing it coming back.
Yeah.
Oh, so interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so that's to get the inches off, just kind of like the last little bit that people are looking to, just to fit into that bathing suit for next week's vacation.
Yeah.
All right. basically, I know that we're running out of time and we're going to be stopping this a little bit, but yeah, I was thinking about change, and I was just like, that's something that I think everybody is always kind of like navigating through, no matter how small that change is. And even what might be small to me might be huge to somebody else and rock their world. And it's about being prepared, right? That last point that you were making, Dr. Jemecia, it's about the support, that mindset shift that we were talking about, being aligned, making sure that we have community, right? um, and the setbacks that you were talking about, because in the midst of that, there could be more changes, right? And could send you on a roller coaster. And if you don't have that support and you don't have that community, you don't have people to fall back on, you could very well be homeless. And it could be that drastic when it comes to these changes. Um, and I feel like a healthy way to look at it is to keep in mind that everybody's going through their changes. Everybody is. And for us not to kind of like, not to like withdraw ourselves from society and from our community, but actually talk about it. And I know that I grew up in a family when things were changing, like we were not supposed to tell our business to other people. And my parents lost their house. My father finished paying off the mortgage. The house was ours. And something happened with the tenant. We were sued, and the whole conversation in the house was, don't let anybody know this is happening. I was already working for an architect at the time. Had I talked about it, people would have offered suggestions. I would have still had this house. This house would have been for me and my brother and my sister. And it's a gorgeous house. I won't go into it. That was one of the hardest changes that we had to overcome ever. And my father left. My father was like, peace, I'm going to Haiti. And he just worked his whole life paying for this house just to see it just taken from him, right? So changes like that could really affect somebody's psyche. Their whole lives change and maybe even never really fully recover from it. Okay, so what's this? I can't read it. Hello, beautiful Black women. Hello. So I don't know if you ladies have any last words of wisdom for us as we kind of close out this Friday's discussion.
I do. I just want to say, change sometimes can be a little bit painful. It could be a little bit scary, but it's really something that should happen. And even like when we talked about aging, that's a way of changing also, and sometimes you just need a new environment. Sometimes you need just something like move. Like if you're in your area and you grew up there or whatever, and you just don't feel like you're growing, it's okay to move. Try something different. I mean, I mean, you could end up homeless. I've ended up homeless. I've been homeless. It's not fun, but like I said, it might make you stronger.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about that homelessness, because, oh my God, not an experience that I would wish on on anybody at all. But no, I don't. Everything that has been said, I think we could probably have this discussion again in a lot of different ways, because I believe that the fear of change is what keeps people stagnant when it comes to health, money, relationships, everything. It's the fear of the unknown, of what's different. And if we stay with what we always know, we miss out on the life that we could really be enjoying. So I think there's a lot more we could have to this discussion.
I agree, because I definitely wanted to bring up the health piece. And I've met people that did not let that type of fear stop them, and they've lived amazing, exciting lives, right? Because I feel like that fear will always be there, but it's, what are you going to do with that fear? Are you going to use it to kind of like move you forward, or are you going to let it like immobilize you? And so we could definitely touch on this topic. And the piece about homelessness, I've met a lot more people than I would ever anticipate that had been sorry about that. The phone call was coming in. That has been homeless at some stage in their lives. It's really incredible. So we can definitely touch on this again. But as for now, thank you, ladies, for this discussion. And I think that's about it. We'll be around. Parting words. We'll be around Monday evening at 5:30.
6:30.
6:30.
6:30. Thank you. 6:30 p.m.
5:30 Central. 5:30 Central.
Yes.
Oops, sorry about that. And folks, join us on Facebook. We do have a private community. We would love for you to join us. And definitely, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, definitely subscribe to our channel or wherever you're watching us, be it Instagram, Facebook, wherever. And just watch out for us. And we hope to be bringing you more of these conversations. So with that, I'm going to say have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and we'll see you Monday.
Bye, y'all.